It's the world. I'm in P world. PlayStation 5 controller, major key. This is my first time checking out, the PlayStation controller. I've heard about how, you can feel the R2 and L2, you know, getting harder and all of that extra stuff, you know what I'm saying? So I actually have not checked anything out about this, so I'm interested to see what's up with this. Oh, I don't know. Might be copyright, I don't know.
Hey, what's up? MKBHD here. So, hear me out. PS5's controller, this guy right here, might be the best part of the PS5, but maybe even hotter take is this might be the most next-gen thing about any of the upcoming next-gen consoles. It's important. Like, of course, the graphics are going to get better, and the games will look better, but the controller evolving, maybe that's a hot take, but I think this is pretty important. So both major consoles, Xbox Series and PlayStation 5, right around the corner, as you know, and I'm testing them both. It's a lot of hard work, playing a lot of games between the two of them, of course. But I wanted to take a minute before the reviews of them to talk about controllers. So a lot of you have seen the PS5 unboxing, so you've seen that new controller, and this is it. And I didn't unbox the Xbox Series X and S on camera, but I've shown it several times
Looks
already.
Damn good.
These are the Xbox controllers. The Series X comes with a black controller, matte black everything actually, and the Series S comes with a matte white controller. But it's the same thing roughly. It's not super new, and we've seen the shape before. There's some subtle improvements I like though. USB Type-C, and there's a dot pattern on the back of the shoulders that's really nice now. But the PS5's new controller is different. It's built different. I don't know how many people are actually shopping between PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. Like, to be honest, I think most people already know which one they want, and they're just seeing how they can get their
I'll admit it. I've been kind of thinking about the Xbox, man. I'll admit it.
hands on them, pre-orders, that whole dance. But if you are still undecided, maybe the controller is that differentiating factor. So, okay, why am I making this whole video? Why is the controller so different? Well, I already showed you the fundamental new thing, the new beefier design, the new lights, the new USB Type-C, and the pins at the bottom for the dock, and even that crazy detailed texture. That's all fine. But also, this controller, when it turns on, has a feel that makes you feel more connected to the game and the console. I mean, it's a controller, so it's the one thing that you can actually say, maybe more than the screen, actually connects you to the game. So, two things about it. First, the new haptics are very strong. There's a new haptic motor inside this. Think like the difference between a new phone, the newest iPhone's haptic motor, and like an old, sloppy, traditional vibration motor. That precision to it. And then the other thing is the adaptive triggers. So I mentioned in the unboxing, when you just kind of squeeze the triggers when the controller's off, they feel normal. But when the controller's on, they have an adaptive level of resistance of when you actually pull them down. And the level of resistance can get pretty high, and you really have to squeeze the triggers, and they respond based on what's...
See, I think that'll be cool, like when you playing like a shooting game, you know what I'm saying? And, R2 is usually how you shoot, but when you pulling that trigger, if it really feel hard to pull like a real trigger, that shit'll be hard.
happening on the screen and in the game. So those two things are a feel that is a major step up. So together they make up the DualSense controller, and then to demo it, Sony actually made a game. It's called Astro's Playroom to show it off, and it has exaggerated levels of haptics and adaptive triggers all throughout the game, and they combine with the speaker and the controller to really feel super engaging all the time. I was gonna say immersive, I don't know if that's the right word, but it's just engaging the whole time. So in this game, you basically control Astro and go through this world. This is one stage called Cooling Springs, and literally everything you touch feels different through the controller. The character walking around on glass, you feel the footsteps. It feels and sounds one way, but even without the sound, it just feels noticeably different than walking on metal, or walking through water, or on sand. And that feel is all translated by the haptic motor that moves the controller with every footstep really precisely. It's pretty great. With hitting things, the impact is different for different materials, so of course there's going to be a lot of different things to hit all over this game constantly to feel all of that happen. Coins hitting you feels different from hitting a leaf, feels different from hitting an enemy. And then for the adaptive triggers, they tie it to this feeling of a spring in the game. So you're using the triggers on the back of the controller to squeeze down a spring. And the added resistance,
That's hard.
plus the haptic vibration, all kind of feel exactly how it would feel if you were trying to squeeze and compress a real-life spring. It is a very convincing combination of haptics. And they use this feeling for other things too, like the stretching of rope when you pull on ropes in the game, which again happens a lot. But yeah, it's clearly it's a tailor-made experience around all the strengths of the new controller. So of course there's entire levels and places that are just around the feel of your environment and the haptics through the controller in your hands, but it is a really good demo. And so when I demo this, I'm using this new controller, I'm reminded of how whenever I use a new phone with a really good haptic motor, I appreciate it way more and it feels newer and more next gen than phones from a couple years ago or even this year with bad vibration motors. They feel worse. And you never really unnotice that. It also reminds me of the MacBook Pro's trackpad, the new trackpad, where the Force Touch, you would swear the glass is moving, but it's not. It just has a really good, high-quality haptic motor right behind it that feels like a very convincing real click. And that's in a much smaller space than this controller, where they can fit much bigger haptic motors. So there's a lot going on in here. So Sony published a teardown of the PlayStation 5, and it was pretty cool, and a lot of people watched it. It was very detailed. But what I want to see now is what the inside of the controller looks like. And some people are already doing that. I think Austin did a video on the internet of looking at how big these haptic motors are. So of course, I can't tear this one apart because it's a review unit, but I feel like we're going to see a lot more of that very soon. It's just when you have more space, you can do more with haptics, and that to me feels much more next gen and noticeable. And I also want to point you to this Dave 2D video. He made a really good video just with a really good animation / illustration of what the triggers and the motor behind them may look like, how they add resistance to the squeezing the triggers. Dave, I hope you don't mind me using this, but it's really good, and I think here you can visualize now better how they use the motors to make the triggers harder to squeeze. But definitely check out, just watch
They getting real hands-on with this shit, yo.
We share a lot of the same thoughts
2020 we
on
here.
this controller, but watch the rest of his entire video as well. So, better haptics, better feel in the thing you're actually holding that connects you more physically to the game than the actual graphics. When you think about it, it's kind of a no-brainer. But I think now the question, now that we have this pretty good controller, is what other games are going to actually take advantage of it? So Sony built Astro's World.
I heard
cool
2K
demo,
was.
but what other games are actually going to use these impressive, physical achievements inside the controller? The first thing that comes to mind for me is shooting games, right? Having the squeezing the trigger and having the resistance of actually squeezing the trigger might feel different for different guns. That I could definitely see happening. But then, the gears start to turn a little bit. What about driving games? There's a lot of those. And something to notice, anytime you play a good driving game with a good wheel, the wheel has really high quality haptics and vibration motor. So when you drive over different surfaces, it feels different in the wheel. The vibration of the car, you feel it in the wheel. That can be done better with better quality haptics through this controller. So I can see that happening. But then there's all kinds of adventure games like the Spider-Man game. There's sports games, of course. I play a lot of 2K, so I imagine feeling the basketball dribbling through the controller. And there's actually moments where you're shooting a free throw and you feel the heartbeat of your player through the controller. That stuff will be amplified and feel more convincing on this new controller. So there's a lot of possibilities, and I'm hoping that PS5 game developers are as amped about this as I am. That would be really exciting. So that's it for now. Short video just to get the gears turning and think about this a little bit, but let me know what you think. Is this haptic engine in this controller, whatever they want to call it, enough to convince you of PS5 over Xbox? Or what do you...
I mean, we getting PS5s, period, over here in P World. You know what I'm saying? We PlayStationed up, man. You know what I mean? But this controller shit is definitely saucy, man. It's new innovation, man. New steps in technology, you know what I'm saying? Type of shit I like to see, coming from Sony. But if they could just, get me a damn PlayStation, that would be great. You feel me? What y'all grabbing, though, man? Y'all still Xbox gang or PS5? Make sure you holler at me in the comments and let me know what in the world I should react to next. Until next time, it's...